Yeah.
So we're here today with Jason Rhind. Jason's a former RBR soldier, Lance Corporal, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I reached out to the somebody in the regiment that I know, and I'm like, before I contacted you some months ago, and I'm like, this Jason Rhind guy. Just got single word sentence back, and it was, he's a good guy. So you obviously made some type of impression on the regiment. So tell me a little bit about your regimental service and how you're you maybe leveraged that into what you're doing now, and how are those lessons? How did military service in Bermuda prepare you for where you are today and what you're doing today?
Uh, so I mean, I guess do you want me to give you a brief overview of my time in the regiment kind of thing, or
Sure. Yeah, whatever the highlights are for you. What are the high value lessons that you're using every day in life, I guess?
yeah. Well, yeah, so I mean, I joined the regiment reluctantly at the time. This
Right.
is when conscription was still a thing. But I actually really liked it. Yeah, I think there's part of me that always has kind of resisted being told what to do, but at the same time, I like structure. I feel like I benefit from it. So yeah, that definitely helped. And so kind of right out of recruit camp, I went into the CARTA program, and yeah, got promoted to a Lance Corporal, and um, went through the MOI process, so the method of instruction, and taught recruit camp, and from there it got a little rocky.
Mm.
Yeah, but so I was in the regiment for about 8 years, I believe. Um, some of the time I was in the OSU, which was a somewhat, I think, temporary unit. Um, But anyway, kind of finished off my time working as a medic for I think the last 2 years.
Right.
And I guess the medical side of things always kind of interested me. But I think what I would say the most beneficial, at least for what I'm doing out here, well, I mean, to some extent, yeah, like so being a Lance Corporal and having that kind of leadership role was definitely beneficial, even before I got out here with like jobs that I was in and careers. But that kind of initial experience of being in a leadership position was very beneficial. But probably the biggest thing that's been a benefit from being out here is having done the MOI class, and kind of like learning how to teach, and kind of the kind of EDIP, like explain, demonstrate, imitate, practice,
Mhm.
and just like the kind of small lessons you learn along the way, uh, from having that experience of teaching, like learning. Something I was thinking about just the other day is like the whole regiment thing of, ask a question, pause, and nominate. Like just little things like that are very beneficial, especially when you're teaching, which is what I've been doing for the last about 2 months.
Right.
So yeah.
So you've been teaching first aid, right? And TCC, which is just want to explain what TCC is from people that may not know what that is. It's rather a new acronym, I think.
Yeah, so it was something developed by the US. Yeah, so it's well, TCCC or TCCC. It's trauma and combat casualty care. And so there's different levels of that. So there's an all service members, TCCC. There's a combat lifesaver, and then the next level up is like a combat medic.
Mhm.
Um, and so what I've been teaching is the combat lifesaver course. Um, so initially, I was kind of working with organizations, Ukrainian, or well, yeah. So while I've been teaching, it's been all with Ukrainian organizations. Um, and so initially, some of that was with civilians, which is kind of giving a very brief overview, um, going through the basics. so I guess I don't know if you how much detail you want me to get into, but so it's kind of divided up into like three categories.
Mhm.
So there's care under fire, so providing care when you're under like direct enemy fire.
Right.
A tactical field care, so that's once you've kind of moved out of effective enemy fire, and then tactical evaluation care or
Right.
tactical evacuation care.
So,
Um,
sorry. So, and you're you were teaching that at the medics with at RBR. I think a lot of people don't know that the regiment has a medic section. I think primarily the training is still being done by St. John's Ambulance to emergency medical responder level, and I think they may even have had over the past couple of years some EMTs in service. I know Walter Brangman was there for many, many years.
yeah,
Currently
yeah,
EMT.
yeah. So there was when I was a medic, yeah, Sergeant Major Brangman was there, but then there was also a Sergeant Chris Pullen,
Mhm.
who yeah, he had actually done a I believe it was an EMT and wilderness survival course through Knowles, which is like an
Mhm.
American organization. I think it's like
Right.
a National Outdoor Leadership School.
Mhm.
um
So,
yeah,
so you're teaching civilians, and are you teaching military as well? I mean, I know you're in Kyiv, right? Currently, is that right?
yeah, so I'm based out of Kyiv. So working in Kyiv, I work at a military training school, which is specifically teaching combat medicine. Um, I was working in Mykolaiv also on the weekends, and that was teaching civilians.
Mhm.
But actually, just in this last week, I've taken on the role as the lead instructor at the school in Kyiv.
Oh, well done.
Um, yeah, so um, yeah, so that's a really good opportunity. So unfortunately, because of that, I'm not going to be able to go to Kyiv on the weekends. So I've been trying to find someone to kind of fill in and replace there, just so that
Right,
organization isn't kind of left in the lurch.
right, right. So,
Um,
so you're what is it like there on the ground in Kyiv? I mean, we've seen yesterday and the day before, I think the kamikaze drones striking the power plants and knocking 30%, I think, of Kyiv is without power, I think. And I see your lights are on, so obviously you've managed to dodge that for the time being, hopefully.
yeah, so I guess it was the maybe the weekend before last,
Hmm.
when it was Putin's birthday on the Friday, and then early on the Saturday there was the explosion on the bridge from Crimea to Russia.
Right.
So on Monday morning, um, that was when kind of Russia retaliated with a lot of the missile strikes kind of all over Ukraine. So there were about four that hit downtown Kyiv. Um, Two of the ones that hit were on Shevchenko Boulevard, which is about where they actually hit was about five blocks away from where I am.
Mm.
So that's actually kind of I drive up that road every day to go to the training school.
Wow.
Um, so obviously that day I wasn't able to go up that road, but yes, I mean, like you hear the explosions, and then there were a few in Kyiv on Monday with the kamikaze drones.
Right.
Um, so I actually, I'm not sure how close the first wave was to me, but those hit at 7 o'clock. No, I didn't hear those at all. I slept through that. But then the second wave hit around 8:20. So that was kind of like right as I was heading out the door to go to the school. So I mean, you kind of yeah, I mean, you hear those, but I mean, I guess the
I
ones on the missiles that hit on Shevchenko, I mean, those were somewhat close, but in Mykolaiv, there's been
Mm.
well, I mean, they've been shelled kind of almost every day
Right.
since the war started. So being down there, um,
Now you've been in Ukraine how many months now?
um,
4, 5?
over 5. So I
Yeah.
got out here like middle of May, like
Mm.
May 13th, May
So
14th.
so
Um,
how have things changed since your arrival? I mean, it's from the day you got there, and I know I think you went out there to work with one organization and you changed, but how has things progressed from your view on the ground there? It seems to be changing quite rapidly now.
um, Yeah, so I mean, when I got out there, things had definitely kind of, by the time I got out there in May, things had slowed down a bit with the war. Because early on, like February, March, April, a lot was happening. And then, yeah, there was a bit of a lull, probably up until about September, October, where, there was only kind of like incremental advances by Russia,
Right.
kind of slowly kind of pushing Ukraine out. Um, but yeah, I guess it was probably about a month ago now that Ukraine kind of pulled the old switcheroo, where they kind of said that they were going to be pushing Kherson down in the south, and then yeah, made rapid advances up in the north,
Mm.
taking back pretty well all of the Kharkiv regions, and moving into some of the other regions that would be
Right.
part of the Donbass. Yeah.
So
So
I imagine that you're obviously not the only um, uh, national that's in Ukraine assisting now. So what's been the overall reception to people coming from outside of Ukraine to help? I mean, you must come into contact with other, I'll call them volunteers, I guess, or people that have come to help. What's been the overall reception?
uh I mean, yeah, to be honest, the people out here are great. Like they're very nice. Yeah, very friendly. Even at the training school, like the soldiers and stuff, like they thank you for coming out and like supporting
Mm.
their country. Um, and yeah, so I mean, I went to Balaklia, which was like a recently reclaimed uh, city,
Mm.
about 3 weeks ago, and then as well to Izum, which is where they found a lot of those mass graves.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, when we went to, so that was all kind of one trip, but when we went to Balaklia first and then on to Izum, because we were trying to do organized training with the military out there. Yeah, in Balaklia, I mean, there's this family that I mean, they showed us this cellar that they have where they grow a lot of their own vegetables and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
and they make like preserves and whatnot to store things. And then this cellar they use as a bomb shelter. Um, and yeah, they had the three of us that made the trip up there. Uh, they made us like a yeah really nice meal and like fed us, and yeah, we had another night where we were drinking with them. And yeah, I mean, a lot of the times, like when you visit people or like you help them out, they don't necessarily have a lot to give, but like one thing they do have is food, so they want to feed you. So yeah, so it'd be
That's
rude
great.
not to accept that.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, I
How's your
guess
Ukrainian coming?
uh, so. Yeah.
So what's your longer term intentions? What do you planning on staying out there a little bit longer? Do you have more work to do out there, more to volunteer? What do you think has the future has in store for you there?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's just been this is the first week that I've kind of taken on as the lead instructor. So I definitely like to stay out here for a while longer. Originally, I was looking at coming back in like middle of November, so I guess kind of like a month from now.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I guess at the same time, the idea of leaving, it's, well, obviously to some extent it's like, well, it's I like it out here, and I mean the work that
Right.
you're doing is obviously like meaningful, like you're, the people I'm working with and training, it's like they're, well, some of these people are back from the front lines, so they're going to be putting this training to use,
Right.
because once they finish the training, they're going back out. Um, and so obviously, there's a definite feeling of satisfaction from doing something meaningful. But there's also the part where it's like, I don't want to really go back to reality and have to be working a job. Um, so, but I mean, and
Yeah.
I do love it out here. Like, I don't know, just like the people, the culture, the music, the food, like. I'd say the best way I could describe Ukrainian people, like they're like incredibly united and resilient. Uh, it's like imagine Bermuda, how Bermudians are during hurricane season, but like, it's like they're going through a hurricane that's, 8 months, 9 months long.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and a lot of people I've met, it's like they work, but then they're donating money towards the army, or they're buying equipment and stuff to send to people that they know that are in the military.
Mm.
Yeah, they're very, very united. Um, so yeah, so I guess, yeah, long and short of it is I'd like to stay out here a little bit longer. And also it's a good opportunity for me kind of personally, being the lead instructor at the school. And so yeah. So I mean, if I can, I guess, manage to not spend too much money and make it last until, to
Right.
be able to stay out here for another 2 months or so, then that's something I'd like to do.
Mm.
Um,
I'm
I
sure the
guess the
feeling
other,
that you're doing something valuable and making a contribution is really has a lot to do with it, and I applaud you for that. There's a lot of people that talk about it. There's a lot of people that would say, "Oh, I would do that," but you did it. You put your feet on the plane. Not only did you talk about it, you actually went and you're there helping. So that's, I'm sure, a huge contribution. And Bermuda will always be here, right? Um,
yeah,
that's the thing.
yeah,
We have quite a few Ukrainian friends here who, have family all over Ukraine, and we've been trying to help them out directly and indirectly. I would encourage anybody out there to help. What do you think the best way for people to help is? Is it donating through the Red Cross, or are there other organizations that are on the ground there that have more meaningful impact?
so with some of the articles I've written to the Royal Gazette and Burn News, I kind of made comments about the Red Cross that were not included in the article. Um,
Gee,
I'm
Jason,
sure.
why is that? Why is that, Jason?
Yeah, so
You don't have to answer that question. I could probably guess, but
yeah, so I mean, there's, well, I mean, I'll be honest, like there's been stories about the Red Cross kind of being in Lviv and having lots of equipment, but not kind of sending it forward to where it can be more useful.
mm,
And yeah, some Ukrainians don't have the best view of the Red Cross. I mean, at the end of the day, obviously they do good work, but they're a big organization, so obviously some of the donations are going to go towards like administrative costs and whatnot. But I mean, in terms of, if people want to support, I mean, there's a wealth of Ukrainian organizations that are doing great work. And I mean, yeah. So since I left TFY, which was an organization started by Americans, I've only been working with Ukrainian groups, and like I mean they have the connections, like they know the lay of the land, like they know how things work, they know how to make things happen. Um, and so, and I guess to some extent it's like, it's always better to, rather than doing for someone, like helping them to empower themselves to do for self.
Right.
And so there's lots of Ukrainian organizations that people can find that are doing really good work, that can especially use financial contributions.
Mm.
So not to say anything negative about the Red Cross, but yeah, there's lots of Ukrainian organizations doing really good work.
Yeah, I
So
also came across the link. I'll see if I can find it and post it later, about an organization which was accepting donations through of material and donations through Amazon, and they have this logistical network set up through Amazon in Europe, via Germany, I think it is, and have these lists of things that they want, like combat tourniquets, first aid kits, all those types of things. I'll see if I can find the link. It's a legitimate link. I checked it out, and it seemed like a very good way for people to donate something a little bit more than money, if they could. And I guess what you really be looking for is a air defense system. That would probably be something that somebody could donate. That would be the most useful thing to Ukraine right now, right?
yeah, no, definitely. Or yeah, I think they're looking for some tanks, or some more howitzers, or
More
yeah,
HIMARS or whatever they're called. Yeah. So if you got one of those laying around, you got a missile defense system, we need that over in Ukraine. Just send that over.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so anything else that you want to add? I know it's late there for you now. You've been working all day, and I just want to thank you. I've been trying to catch up with you for a while. And our schedules haven't quite kind of matched, but it's what, 10 o'clock there, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah, like 10-15. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I don't want to keep you up. I know you got busy days ahead of you, and I just want to thank you again. And thanks for representing the regiment so well as a former soldier. I think you're doing great work over there.
yeah,
Um,
no, thank you.
yeah, it's really good. And somebody that volunteers myself through St. John's, I understand the medic side of it. I also understand the stresses that can go with that. So look after yourself.
Yeah, no,
And
definitely.
yeah, I'm just going to sign off for a minute. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to come back to you in a minute. But thank you, Jason. And if there's anything the association can do for you while you're over there, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'd love to catch up with you again, maybe in another couple of weeks.
All right, yeah, no, sounds good.
All right, good.